This is Tom Colley for Through the Ropes Boxing. I'm delighted to be joined again with Jacob Stitch Duran. Jacob, how's things? It's been a while since we last spoke. A lot's happened in the world of boxing.
Yeah, I've kind of haven't been traveling as much as you. I just saw you in Saudi Arabia, and I'm thinking, check this guy out. I said, man, I did one of his first interviews, and I'm so proud to see young guys like you grow. And yeah, it brought a big smile to my face when I saw you.
I really appreciate that, Stitch. And as I say, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity early on and helping me build the profile to help me get onto shows like that. And what an amazing experience it was, and what an amazing event as well. It certainly lived up to expectations. I take it you tuned in.
No, I didn't.
No?
I normally I don't. It's just like all these fights. I do so many that it's nice to see the highlights, and it's nice to know the results.
Yeah.
But yeah, unless somebody, hey man, come on by, but normally I don't buy pay-per-views. So.
Having watched the fight back, Stitch, I mean, obviously it was an amazing fight, close fight, a little bit of controversy there as well. What did you, having watched it, did you think Usyk was the deserved winner, and what did you make of the fight if you were to break it down?
Well, I know both. Of course, I worked with with Tyson, and Usyk was part of the Klitschko family, so I knew him when he first came on board, and I look at it not who's going to win, who's going to fight, because I do this so many times, right? But I look at what are the probabilities of being a good fight, and what are the probabilities of a fighter getting cut based on their styles. But I knew that the fight was going to be very competitive. Tyson Fury is no joke. Usyk comes in with that Eastern Bloc mentality, and it's very proper on his technique. So, you had the elusive Tyson Fury going against the straight up type of Usyk, and turned out to be a good fight. The fans loved it, so everybody's still talking about it. So, they did what they had to accomplish.
It really was one of those fights beforehand. It was like a pick 'em,
Yeah.
Some people, whoever you spoke to, some people say Usyk, some people would say Tyson. We had, I think it was the crazy 9th round where Usyk nearly knocked Tyson out. There was a lot of talk of should the ref have counted, should he not? I mean, what did you think of that? Do you think it was the right decision to give the standing count, given the ropes kept him up?
I didn't see the fight, and I didn't see that moment, and but I know the referee, and every time I've worked in the same corners as him and see him in fights, he's always done a very good job. So there's always going to be, welcome to the game of boxing, bro. There's always going to be that one controversy, what would have, could have, and should have, right? And that seems to be one of those cases. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't judge people like that. And, one thing I would never do is be a judge or a referee, because you got to make these split-second decisions. And, I'd rather be a cut man. So.
You definitely do a great job of that, Stitch.
You,
we've seen that Tyson has gone straight ahead. He's activated the rematch clause. He's going in there for the rematch. What do you think that Tyson can do differently this time? Do you see the result being any different this time around?
All it takes is one shot, Tom. And it changes the whole career of somebody's life, right? And so, yeah, this would be time. It would be another pick'em fight. Depends on what, now he understands that Usyk is a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more stand-up-ish, and now he could maybe train for someone like that. But the same with Usyk, how do you learn to cut off a corner of a Tyson Fury? Because he moves around so much, right? Do you follow him, or do you step into a position where he can't move anywhere? So those are challenges that both of them are going to make going into the next fight. So we'll see. And I think this second fight will probably draw more attention than the first one, only because of all the things you talked about and the things we discussed.
I mean, you would have remembered all those 25 years ago, Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, the 2 undisputed fights. The last time we got that, they obviously fought twice as well, and the build up to that was the second one even bigger back then.
Yeah, exactly. And you're always going to have that, because now you have discussion. Now you have controversy. Now you have one that thinking that Tyson Fury won. Now you have one that now Usyk won, and so that's what's going to pay for the bills for the next one.
Peter Fury came out and said that he felt there may have been too many voices in Tyson's corner. Did you see anything of that? And do you think that can? I mean, you've worked in corners, being obviously the cut man that you are. Do you think that can be a problem for fighters if you've got too many people, too many 100%. Voices in the corner?
Yes, 100%. There should only be one voice. I don't care what. And and we talk about it all the time. I'm glad you brought that position up because I've worked a couple of fights with Tyson Fury, and you hear the excitement, and but yeah, in all professionalism, my job's not to talk, but I'll always, and if I have anything to say, I'll say it during the fight. So if I see something, I'll mention it to the coach. Look, then the coach, if he sees that what I see is correct, he'll present it to him. That's the way it should be. But so did that distract him a little bit? Yeah, maybe it could have, should have. You could always fix that.
There was, of course, a lot of talk going into the fight because Fury had the cut. Funny enough, Usyk, I think, sustained an injury over his eye in the fight and not Tyson.
Yeah.
You'd know more than most about how long it takes for a fighter to heal and repair after such a grueling 12-round fight. Do you think that the December date, I think they're talking about for the rematch, is that enough time for both men to go back, recuperate, have time with their families before going back into camp and fighting again?
Yeah, I mean, camp is as much of a veterans as they are. 6 weeks worth of camp is a good thing. And a lot of the conditioning, everything, the preparations, you can do that at home. With family and all that. But yeah, and then the cuts. I know when he got cut, people always ask me about when he got cut in training. I think one of them asked me about the cut. Would the cut be a problem in this fight? I said no, there's plenty of time. So the probabilities are slim. But should be a good fight.
We've seen the amazing things that Saudi Arabia have done. I mean, they're bringing these huge fights to boxing. The fights everyone wanted to see are being made. We were due to have Bivol Beterbiev this weekend, and unfortunately, that's now been postponed. I'm sure we'll get that later down the line. But we've still got we've seen Turki Al-Sheikh bring together Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn after their rivalry for so many years, and now we've got this 5v5 tomorrow night. I mean, have you sort of tuned into that much? Do you know much about these upcoming fights this weekend? We've got a massive one between Hrgovic and Dubois and Wilder and Zhang, as well as some other great fights and some of the lower divisions.
Too many fights, but there's too many fights under my belt. I have this weekend off. Thank God. It's been a while, right? But from next week on, I got like 5 weeks straight on the road, and so yeah, I'll listen and I'll look, but I'm not tuned into all the things. But you're bringing up Turki Al-Sheikh, whatever his name is they're investing a lot into the boxing industry, right? But Amir Abdallah, that's American. He's a friend of mine that lives here in Las Vegas. He also works for them initially in setting this program up. But I told him, and I'll mention it to you, is why not bring up a program for health and safety for the fighters? There's nothing that's been done, and if they really want to get into the mix of it, find out what these guys go through, the deep part of the game, because now you're just seeing the cream of the crop, but the trials and tribulations that fighters go through, they need an educational package, and if they're willing to do one, I'm willing to help them. So the education, bro, it's like even just simple as Tyson Fury talking about too many guys, talking in the corner. Something as simple as that is fixable if you understand the circumstances.
So what would you think, like some sort of talk show they could do or something along those lines?
Oh, well, it's very simple. It's funny because I don't know if I sent you the video, but 24 years ago, I did a bunch of interviews and about these same issues, the health and safety, insurance plans, pension plans, and Mike Tyson. At that point, I interviewed him before he had his tattoos, and he says, guys like me and Oscar De La Hoya, Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, when we fight, get some of our money, let's give it to these guys, put it in a kitty for them, and then if all these top-rated fighters did that, you could create a fund for insurance. Let's say you're in the gym and you break your hand and you don't have an insurance. Well, you go to the hospital, you give them the Fighters Union, whatever it's called, account, and then they pay for it. Because there's a majority of these fighters that fight right now, 99% of them don't make no money. You know, they say the old theory is 1% of the fighters make 99% of the money. And it's true, you know, so we need to protect them. We need to protect the foundation that you're using to have these top fighters. Very simple.
It's an interesting concept, Stitch, and it definitely does make sense because you're absolutely right. I mean, these opportunities in Saudi, like you say, often it's the cream of the crop.
Yeah, even
money. There's a lot of guys out there. I think a lot of maybe passive fans don't realise that they dedicate their life to this, and sometimes they're barely making ends meet, and you know, and having to rely on sponsors where they can, and so it would
100%.
make sense.
You walk into any gym, and every fighter that's in there has one object, and that's become a world champion. But if you look at every fighter in there, if you collected all their money and put it in a pot and you counted it, it wouldn't be a whole lot of money. You know, they just don't make no money. You know, and Mark Ratner, that used to be the head of the athletic commission here in Nevada, also brought up a good point that the money comes from the pay-per-view. So how do you create income to create these programs? But you know, let's say you promote a fight and the next Tyson Fury fight is, you know, I don't know what the fees were, $80. Well, why not charge $81 and say, look, $1 of this goes into the pension plan issue? Very simple. You know, every sport has it. And I interviewed Joe Lewis's daughter in this one also, and she says every sport has it. Why not boxing? Yeah, why not boxing?
With the innovation that we're seeing, that's something that will come next, and it's certainly.
Well, it should have. It's been comes next, but I've seen this issue, you know, forever, and now that the same issues that are happening in boxing are now happening in MMA, and it's education, injuries, long-term injuries, dementia, pugilistic. You know, I always talk to these old fighters I worked with years ago, and hey, how's your body? Well, the elbows and the knees, and the back, and it's a hurt business, you know. So you got to figure out how to take care of these guys.
Absolutely. On the weekend of fighting, Stitch, I did just want to get your opinion on the heavyweight showdowns that are drawing so much intrigue, and actually because the winner of these fights are probably both going to be in line for a potential fight with Anthony Joshua. So Daniel Dubois v Filip Hrgović, I mean, two of the top heavyweights in the division. How do you see that one unfolding, Stitch? Another really exciting fight.
And that's who now?
That's Daniel Dubois and Filip Hrgović, the Croatian.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell you. I not really have seen them. I've heard of Dubois, but the other guy haven't. So I can't give you an honest opinion on that.
Deontay Wilder, we're seeing he's back. His fight with Eli Zhang. They both come off defeats to Joseph Parker, but still two massive names, and I think almost like a crunch fight for them. And I think the winner of that, like I say, it could be in line for this vacant title if it does become vacant with Anthony Joshua has been talked about. Do you see, I mean, two massive punches. How do you see that one going, Stitch?
Yeah, I do. Now, that one I could probably answer because I'm a lot more familiar with both of them, right? But Deontay Wilder has that knockout punch. And, you know, but this Chinese fighter has a lot of things going for him. Just the way he beat Joshua Parker twice, you know, and Joy Joyce, you know, just how he took these guys to court. So fundamentally, he's better than my man Deontay Wilder, but power punch, he has that one shot. So it's a pick 'em fight, but somebody's gonna get knocked out, or somebody should get knocked out. And then now you ask that question, I'll give you my opinion on the necessity of having a cut man, a good cut man, because the probability of one of them or two of them both leaking, based on their styles of fighting, is probably pretty good. So I hope they have a good
guys like that. It's dangerous, right?
Yeah, of course. Yes, of course. One shot, man. That's it.
Just on the dangers of boxing, like you say, and how these fighters need to be protected. I was going to ask you, 30-year age difference, Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, due to fight in July. Tyson's obviously 57 years old. We've heard he had a bit of a medical scare only last week. So what are your thoughts on that, Stitch? Do you think that the fight should be happening? And we know it's probably a lot of it is about money, but
yeah, you know, it's the first fight I worked at, probably when I met you, was with KSI fought Logan Paul. Yeah. I worked with KSI. In fact, he trained here in Vegas, and I didn't know who these guys were, social media guys. Find out they have like 20 million followers plus. So that was a whole new market for boxing. And I didn't really understand it until I saw the fight. And the zone did the right thing. So that's the marketing aspect. I'm working with Nate Diaz. He's fighting Jorge Masvidal, 8-round boxing. Supposed to have been tomorrow, but they moved it to July 6th. But anyway, same token is with Mike and Jake Paul. It's a celebrity fight. It's a social media fight, and it's drawing a lot of attention. But I was talking about it last night. I said, if I was coaching Jake Paul, what I would teach him is how to, as soon as Mike comes at him, tie him up, and you keep tying him up and tying him up and tying him till you make an ugly fight till he gets tired. And then, he has the capability to put him out. So we'll see. That's the type of discussion. Mike Tyson, he's only good for 2-3 rounds, and that's it. And, you can beat anything, but you can't beat time. And that's something you always have to consider.
Do you think that he can still, I mean, like you say, it's Father Time waits for no man. Do you think he can still get in there and do it at 57, Jacob?
For 1 or 2 rounds,
Yeah.
And if he does 3, he's done extremely well.
Has he given you the call to come in the corner as the cut man?
Not yet, and but you never know, you just never know.
I saw actually when I was in Saudi Arabia, Vladimir Klitschko, I know someone you work with a lot and very well. I don't know, I think it was sort of tongue in cheek, but he said regarding Tyson Fury, he still owes me the rematch. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Because when I first met Tyson Fury, when I first started working with him, I said, we could never understood how you beat Vladimir Klitschko. I mean, you look at your body structure, look at Vladimir's, he looks like Adonis. Yeah. But then I saw you fight Deontay Wilder, and I understood that the style of fighting that you have is one you can't teach somebody how to fight, and a very unorthodox style. And that's what Vladimir was talking about. But it's funny because Vitaly with Lennox Lewis, when he lost to Lennox Lewis, remember there was this comeback. Every time we did fights, we were in Germany one time, and Lennox Lewis and Vitaly were all in the lobby, and Vitaly's still telling Lennox Lewis, we got to have a rematch. So that rematch was always been in their head. Why not get 2 brothers and Lennox and then let's do another show.
I think that's that thing in fighters, isn't it? Where they always, I mean, it doesn't matter how old they get, they'll still get in there and do it if they feel
Hey man, wouldn't that be crazy if this Saudi Arabia, if they had that fight with Lennox Lewis and Vitaly and Tyson Fury with Vladimir Klitschko on the same night? That'd be insane.
Sell a lot of tickets.
It'd be insane. It would be insane. Even if they were just exhibitions, 8 rounds. But maybe you ought to present that.
I don't know if I've got a big enough voice yet, Stitch,
I know,
like that across and be listened to. All in good time. Another one I wanted to get your thoughts on, Stitch. Canelo Alvarez, we saw him fight Jaime Munguia. I don't know if you saw that fight.
Yes.
Munguia and Canelo both obviously fought our man John Ryder, and both came out victorious, fought each other, and another great fight.
Yeah.
Canelo came through again. There's a lot of talk about David Benavidez. Everyone wants that fight with Canelo Alvarez. And, a lot's being said from both camps. Do you think we'll see that, Stitch? And if we do, what a fight. I mean, how do you see it going?
Yeah. I always said as a person that looks at the game is that at this stage of Canelo's career, which is a great fighter, he doesn't need a David Benavidez because he's dangerous. Right, and he's already Canelo has already, and I'm looking on the business aspect. So he doesn't need a David Benavidez to. He's already accomplished things he's needed to accomplish, and the fight with Munguia was a tough fight. He persevered, but but in the same token, David Benavidez, we didn't need that. He wanted that fight because that would have took him into a higher level right off the bat. But it looks like he's taking that route anyway. And, with Canelo, because I worked one of the earlier fights that same night, I went into the dressing room after I worked my fights, and I shook his hand, and he said, hey, well, what's up? I said, well, just want to thank you for using my tape. He uses my tape for all his promotional items and all that.
Yeah.
Stitch premium tape, right? And so I thanked him man to man. I said, look, you don't have to. It's Chicanos, Mexicans working with Mexicans, brothers working with brothers, and he applauded that. So I'll add to that story, and you'll kind of be the first one to know on this. I just talked to David Benavidez' father the day before yesterday, and it looks like I'll be working with him when he fights on the 15th. So, we'll see if Canelo continues using my tape, or if he gets mad and all that. But yeah, but the story with Benavidez is when I was with the UFC. I mean, I've been gone 9 years, but about 10 years ago, we did a show in London, and me and his father, Jose, we're in the bus going to the weigh-ins, and we're sitting next to each other, and he's telling me that he has 2 sons, and they're both going to be world champions, right? You hear that all the time.
Yeah, of
so
course.
when Ugas fought Earl Spence in Dallas, they were there, the two brothers and the father, and they're eating, and I went up there and I said, look, I want you guys to know that your father 10 years ago told me both you guys were going to be world champions. And both became world champions. And turns out that Jose, I was with him in the last Creed 3 movie, right? So I had that relationship with him, and now I get the call to work with David Benavidez. And, on a business aspect, makes a lot of sense for them because I think he's going into the light heavyweight division and, fighting a tough Ukrainian.
I was gonna ask you about that. He obviously he's won the belts at super middle versions, so he's going to go into light heavy now, is he? And I guess his eyes will be set on potentially the winner of Bivol and Beterbiev.
I would think so. Yeah, he's going to be going up to the big things after now. And I think that's why the father, because the father was doing both the cuts and the coaching at the same time. But I think he realized now they're at a climbing level that they need to get more solid on their corner, and the corner is extremely important. And for him to bring me in, I'm glad that he did.
Certainly, invaluable experience coming into the corner there.
But that makes a big difference. It does, and you talk to the referees, and they say, I see whoever's working the corner to see if I give them that opportunity, that one more round. So it's just a mental game, right? Just a mental game. Like Tyson Fury, when I worked with him the first time, told him I was going to keep ice on him every round. I was going to wait till he starts swelling. So I'm saying goodbye, and he's ready to jump in the shower. He just has his shorts on and gives me a kiss and tells me he loves me and says, thanks for keeping ice on me. Simple as that. But it means a lot because these guys they're gladiators. You have to understand their mental game, and, they're all gladiators, but they're all babies. And my job is to take care of that baby.
Stitch, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you again. I'm sure we could sit here and talk about boxing all night. But that's exciting news about Benavidez, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the corner for some of these huge fights coming up. I'll certainly be watching and keeping an eye. Yeah,
I got a whole bunch of fights and coming up, and I've just been blessed and continue. And I just got inducted into the National Boxing Hall of Fame.
Wow!
About 3 weeks ago, and that's how we finished. I told you they were filming the documentary of my life, From the Fields to the Garden, it's called. And our final day of filming was when I got inducted into the Hall of Fame.
That's amazing.
What a nice way to end the film, right?
That's amazing. So, where can I watch that?
Well, it's going to be coming out, soon. We're just now. I'll send you the trailer, and
please
you can take a look at it. And but we sent it to Michael B. Jordan and their production company, because they're going to help us take it to this next level. So now we're cutting and pasting and doing the final layout. But yeah, I'll send you I'll let you look at
that. Send that across, Stitch. I look forward to watching that.
All right, my man. Well, congratulations once again, and let's do it again. And anytime you want to talk.
Once again, thank you very much for your time.
Cheers. All right.
Tom Colley for Through the Ropes Boxing with legendary cutman Jacob Stitch Duran.